What's going on, Washington fans, and welcome to Bleacher Report. I'm Josh Taylor at Josh Taylor FB on social media, and we actually have something to look forward to in January, starting off 2025 on an exciting note. As a Washington fan for the first time in a long time, since 2020, the Washington Commanders are headed to the playoffs. Now, we did lock in our spot with the win over the Falcons in a thrilling, stressful, nonetheless, win over the Falcons in overtime at home this past Sunday. But there's still a lot to look forward to for Week 18 and a lot of things that can really shake up the playoff picture, especially for the NFC, and really determine who Washington will face nonetheless in that first round as a wild card team. So I want to take a look at the playoff picture, go through a couple scenarios and inform y'all on that. But nonetheless, like I said, happy 2025. Hopefully everyone is having a great New Year's. We've got college football on. It is an exciting time. And Washington fans, we're usually doing mock drafts and talking about free agency right now. But like I said, we are headed to the playoffs. But we have one more regular season game. Washington at 11-5 is traveling to Dallas, NFC East rivals, to try to revenge that another chaotic game. It seems like every game this year has been close and stressful as a Washington fan, but this is a big one for a couple reasons. And Dan Quinn, I'm really glad, really hit home on that in the press conference, talking to the media after practice about their mindset heading into this matchup and why they are not going to be resting players, which I like. So even though the Cowboys 7-9 out of the playoffs, they've actually been playing really well down this stretch. I know they got, killed by the Eagles, whatever. But even in that game, they showed some fight. They're down CeeDee Lamb, so he won't be playing in this matchup, which is big. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb, one of the best in the league, and, playing up against our defense. It's not that we're afraid of anybody, but I'll take the easiest route to getting that 6 seed by any means. No CeeDee Lamb is fine by me. I'm all for it. Obviously, Cooper Rush, hey, they got us that first time. I don't know what happened. That is a game that I've said I cannot wait to run that back, but that one was at home. And this one's in Dallas. Does that worry me? Not at all. Dallas, they're 2-6 at home. So honestly, this might be best for us. Washington is 4-3 away, so we have the better record than Dallas. Like I said, they can't play at home for whatever reason. But with this game, what makes it so important, not only you want to get that revenge back on the Cowboys because it's the Cowboys, but right now, Washington, if things ended today, if Week 18 didn't exist, Washington would be the 6th seed in the NFC. After, if you go back to that Saints game before we started going on this winning stretch, beating the Saints, beating the Eagles, beating the Falcons, Washington was around 20 to 21% chance of landing that 6th seed. And here we are to where it's most likely that's exactly what happens. But Washington still has to take care of business and do what they do and travel to Dallas and get this win to secure that 6th seed, because in a blink of an eye, in another crazy game, if you lose to Dallas, that 6th seed's gone, depending on a couple other moves to happen like I talked about. But in my opinion, just talk about this matchup real quick. 4.5-point favorites for Washington. I thought it'd be more. The total points right at 44.5. I like what I saw from Washington against Michael Penix and their offense. Obviously, first half, same thing, kind of struggled stopping Bijan Robinson, not being able to stop the run. I'm not too worried about Rico Dowdle. Quiet 1,000-yard rushing season, only one touchdown on the ground, which is crazy to think about. He's like the Trey McBride of running backs this season. But no CeeDee Lamb. They're really leaning on Jalen Tolbert, Brandon Cooks, and some other depth guys to really step up for them. I'm not too worried about it. I think this is a game where Washington can really end the season on a positive note and keep that momentum going. Like I said, going on the winning stretch that we have so far, I always said, starting with that Saints game, you had to win 3 of the last 4 to get into the playoffs. You got to probably win 4 to get that 6th seed, and that's how it's looking like right now. So I think this is a big game. Dan Quinn already mentioned it in his media press conference. We are, that we have that 6th seed. We want to protect that 6th seed. We are fighting for that 6th seed, and I'm all for it. I know you can think about it like, well, you're in the playoffs, you're a lock, you should rest your guys because some other teams are doing it. But I'm looking at that playoff picture, and so is Dan Quinn, and seeing what the possibilities are down the stretch for that first round, going to the second round. It can really determine the entire flow for the playoffs and how far Washington can go in the stretch. But you got to beat Dallas, and I honestly don't see a problem. But for whatever reason, Cooper Rush loves to just play well against us. Their defense is banged up, but they still got Micah Parsons. You just never know. That first game, that's just one that should have never happened. The long touchdown to Terry and then just ending with a missed PAT. The most anticlimactic ending. Like, after that Terry touchdown, we should have 12 wins right now. We should be 12-4 heading into this matchup, possibly 13-4 in the first season of a rebuild. But when you got this guy right here, Jayden Daniels, anything's possible. Even the fact that we have 11 wins right now going into the playoffs is a miracle. I don't think any other team, honestly, like, if you have any other quarterback option at the time, whether it was Caleb or Drake May, Michael Penix, whoever, or you go get a vet, I don't think Washington is in the position that they are right now to even make the playoffs if they don't have Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels just elevates everything so much more, and you really saw it. The offense was struggling. They were down. 2 scores to the Falcons. Things were going rough. It started hot with the interception, but then it just kind of went stale. No run game. Passing game wasn't there. And then the second half, Jayden Daniels just flips the switch and says, I'm going to do everything, and really showed you that, he's just a special quarterback. Possibly one of, if not the best quarterback in the NFC right now. You can make that argument. A lot of people are making that argument, putting up numbers that Lamar had in his 2023 MVP season. This is just an historical season for the rookie, and it can continue into the playoffs. So, with that being said, let's pull up the playoff picture and really look at some different scenarios. Like I said, Washington, 4.5-point favorite over Cowboys. You got to win this one. That is business number one. We kick off. It's noon Central Time here for me in Texas, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. But that's the main thing. If you don't take care of business, then the rest kind of falls apart. But let's take a look at this playoff picture here. I really like how this is broken down. This is if the playoffs happened today. The Lions have the 1 seed currently. The Eagles have the 2. Rams have the 3 seed. Bucks have the 4 seed. So that entire right side is division winners. North, East, South, West. That's it. And then you have the wild card, which crazy records right now. Packers at 11-5. Washington Commanders at 11-5. The Vikings at 14-2 as a wild card team. Holy smokes. What a season for the NFC. Honestly, as of right now, I'd probably prefer all 3 wild card teams over their opponents right now. Packers over the Eagles, us over the Rams, and then Vikings over the Bucks, which is crazy. But that's the layout. But it comes down to a couple of things. The last regular season game is the Lions versus the Vikings. Whoever wins that one is the automatic number 1 seed for the NFC. And the other one gets knocked down to the 5 seed at 14-3. Which is just crazy. You don't have home field advantage at 14-3 because of how good your division is with the Lions and the Vikings, and then the Packers right there 11-5. But what really can happen with Washington? Let's talk at some other playoff scenarios. I saw a chart that really broke everything down, and I love this. So, like I said, Minnesota Detroit winner is the 1 seed, losers the 5 seed. The Rams are the 3 seed, barring a loss and a win by the Bucks. So, if the Rams lose their matchup against the Seahawks, I believe, when we pull up the NFL schedule, then if the Rams lose and Bucks win, the Bucks would jump them and be the 3 seed, and then the Rams would be the 4 seed. But the Bucks might not even make the playoffs. That's what's so chaotic about the NFL. So, the Bucks play the Saints in Tampa. The Falcons play the Panthers at home, something also important to remember because the Falcons aren't 100% out of it yet. There is a glimmer of hope. The Eagles play the Giants. They're locked into the 2 seed. We don't care about the Eagles. They are a lock for the 2 seed. They're resting Saquon. They're resting some other guys. They're playing the Eagles at home. They're 13-3. Even if they lose, they're still going to be that number 2 seed because they have the NFC East on lock, and the other teams could not possibly pass their record. So they're locking the 2 seed. We're done with them. The Packers play at home against the Bears, and the Rams play at home against the Seahawks. And we have some updates on the Rams today that I'm going to talk about as well. Because like I said, every single other game comes down to who Washington is going to be playing. Now, Tampa Bay wins the NFC South with a win or an Atlanta loss, which honestly, I don't see the Bucs losing to the Saints. But the Falcons could lose to the Carolina Panthers. Who knows? Who knows? Panthers are playing really well right now. But the Falcons win the NFC South with a win plus a Tampa Bay loss. So very unlikely that the Falcons would win against the Panthers and the Bucs lose to the Saints. I just don't see that happening. Like I said, the Bucs have everything to fight for right now. They were pulling for us against the Falcons because that really helped them stay, right there. Then Washington is the 6th seed, barring a Washington loss plus a Green Bay win. So that's where things really get interesting. So like I said, you have to take care of business against the Cowboys before anything else. But you say, okay, Josh, so say we win. This is how things could be. The Eagles are locked in at 2. If we win, we are probably going to be playing the Rams. But if they lose, this is where it gets important. You got to go down here. It comes down to conference record. So right now the Rams are 6-5. So conference record is not that hot. Compared, the Bucs are 7-4. So it's just slightly better. But if the Bucs win, they go to 8-4 in the conference. And if the Rams lose, they go to 6-6 in the conference. The Bucs would then jump the Rams. Important to note. The Bucs would jump the Rams and then be the 3 seed, and Washington would go to Tampa and play the Bucs in the first round. Now, I've been keeping an eye on some other teams, and it sounds like Matt Stafford will rest Sunday versus the Seahawks, and the Rams will start quarterback Jimmy G. So the Rams might be starting. I mean, as many injuries as they've had, on the line, and then also with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, I would be really surprised if the Rams start all of their players. They don't really care about if they're the 3 seed or the 4 seed. They have home field advantage regardless. They made the playoffs. They are a lock. They're going to win the division. Seahawks, they're out of it. They're not really playing for anything. They're 9-7, 5-6 in the conference. They don't have a chance of winning the division. It's down to the Rams. So the Rams either going to be that 3 seed or that 4 seed. Regardless, they have home field advantage. They have nothing to play for right now. They're like, hey, guys, we're just going to get healthy, go into the playoffs with our main guys. But that's interesting because I don't see Seattle just resting everyone and kind of giving up at the end there. Who knows? Geno has had his injuries the last few weeks, too. He's gotten banged up along the way. But I could see a way where Seattle beats the Rams and knocks them down to the 4. And like I said, the Bucs, they have something to play for. Because if they lose and the Falcons win, then they're not even in the playoffs. So even though right now they have that home field advantage, they are the NFC South winners, it's still up for grabs to where they could not make the playoffs. So essentially, I think this is the most likely scenario by the time everything's done. If Washington wins, they'll be at 12-5. They will be that 6 seed. And then you'll have the Bucs jump the Rams. And guess what, guys? Do y'all remember this? Let's go all the way back here to week 1. You had the Packers lose to the Eagles. You had the Washington Commanders lose to the Bucs. This one was in Sao Paulo, Brazil, but the Packers were the away team. We lost in Tampa. I was at that game. I would love to run that one back. And then you had Rams and Lions. That kind of determined a lot going on, but you essentially might have a rematch depending on what happens with the Lions and Vikings game. If the Vikings win, they end up the 1 seed. You might have a Lions-Bucs Commanders, Rams, and Packers, Eagles, a complete week 1 rematch. How insane would that be? How insane would that be? This is a good game. The Lions won that one. They were at home. They would have to go to LA this time. I'm just saying, guys, the NFL script was on one this season. We've seen it all. The fact that we're even in the playoffs is insane. But I would honestly love to see that. I feel really good about the Packers traveling to Philly, taking on the Eagles. We saw the Packers play spoiler last year against the Cowboys and how ugly that was. I think the Packers could do the same against the Eagles. I think with their secondary, even with Jair Alexander out for the season, I think the Packers match up really well with the Eagles. They can run the ball. Jordan Love can let it rip. If they can get a passing game going, the Eagles can be in trouble in that one because Jalen Hurts can throw some interceptions. That secondary, I know the Eagles got them in that first game on a crazy bad field. I would love to see them run that one back. And I'm not even being an Eagles hater. I just think matchup-wise, that's one I would want to see. Now, there's a lot of Washington fans that want to go to Philly and say, guys, we want to knock them out of the playoffs at their own stadium, first round of playoffs. Let's, show them that the last win wasn't a fluke just because it was up against Kenny Pickett, even though Jaden Daniels threw 5 passing touchdowns against them, 1 passing defense. Wasn't a fluke at all. But I agree. I would love to go to Philly, but when the time is right, that first round, I don't want to have our team and rookie quarterback go to a cold outdoor Philadelphia stadium in the beginning of January where guys are falling on pretty much concrete with the frozen ground. I would love to go to LA. Indoor stadium, that dome, Rams fans show up. I'm not saying they don't, but I think Washington fans, even though it's on the other side of the map, I think Washington fans would travel really well to that game. It's cold. I just came back from Virginia. There's like hail. There's some snow here and there. Washington fans would want to go out west and hit up LA. Great area. I was there for the Rose Bowl. Got to see the stadium and everything like that. Didn't get to go to the Rams game on that Sunday. Or maybe it was the Chargers. I can't remember. But SoFi? I'm just saying, Washington fans would flood that place, in my opinion. We have fans everywhere. We have fans down here in Texas. I've seen a lot of fans out on the West Coast. Washington is worldwide. And if you look at our schedule next year, we got a tough schedule. Probably going to have a lot of primetime games. Probably could even go overseas for some games. People want to see Washington and Jaden Daniels. But I think that is a really good matchup there. Washington versus the Rams. Only thing that worries me is you got to have Marshawn Lattimore healthy because, Puka, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford can let it rip. Kyron Williams can run that rock. Their offense does concern me. Definitely concerns me. But I think their defense has a lot of holes outside of Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, who have been really good up front as a rookie duo. I think they've been sensational. I like their young D-line. Byron Young up there as well. They got some dudes up there post Aaron Donald. I think that would be a high-scoring shootout. It would be like the Bills-Rams game all over again. Jaden Daniels, even with, a couple of Jags at wide receiver, Terry McLaurin out there, not much of a run game. Sounds like Austin Eckler is well on his way of coming back for the playoffs. Probably going to rest him for next week, just like Marshawn Lattimore. Rest him for that last game of the season, get a little bit of a break, get healthy, and then get ready for that first game. Let's just say Austin Eckler and Marshawn are back. The running game gets going. It's not leaning just primarily on Jaden Daniels. I think you run the ball with Chris Rodriguez. I think you run the ball with Austin Eckler. You mix it up. Your passing game gets better with Austin Eckler. He was our leading receiver in the first game against the Eagles. He adds such an element, and I think it is major to get him back. Now, You get Marshawn back because you're playing some really good wide receivers. We've seen what he's done against Mike Evans his whole career. You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith again. The Lions have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. The Vikings have Justin Jefferson. They've got Jordan Addison. The Packers, even though it's like a quiet room, I know Watson's hurt. You got guys like Reed, Wicks, my guy Romeo. You got Tucker Kraft. This is a really good receiving threat, just loaded at wide receiver and tight end in the NFC playoffs. You got to have Marshawn healthy because we saw what it looked like with Mike Davis. We didn't think it could get worse than Ben St. Juste, and Lord and behold, it did. Mike Davis showed us that it is possible to be worse than Ben St. Juste. So if you got BSJ out there on Mike Evans or Cooper Kupp or A.J. Brown or Amon-Ra St. Brown, it might be a first-round exit. That's all I'm saying. They're going to target him heavy. I'm talking 10 targets a game, whoever he is on, as they should. But also running the ball. You got Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams, and then Bucky Irving's had a quiet, really good rookie season. You got Josh Jacobs possibly. Aaron Jones, I know he's banged up, but he's there. And holy smokes, Arizona State, guys. I'm looking in the background. Arizona State just tied up against Texas. Not to get off topic, but this is getting a little crazy. I've had it on in the background. Shout out to Arizona State and Cam Scatterbo. But man, this playoff, you better grab your popcorn. But as I said, I think the most likely scenario is that the Tampa Bay Bucks win, Rams lose because they're resting everybody. I think it's going to be Vikings Lions. Who wins that one? I'm going to go. I don't know. I just think the Lions have too many injuries on defense, and it's really starting to show. It showed against, the 49ers. But, man, I might have to give the edge to the Vikings. And shout out to KOC. The fact that they could even get the 1 seed after J.J. McCarthy goes down, they turn to Sam Darnold. No one knew what to expect, and Sam Darnold's having a crazy year. They got Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the league. That defense under Flores is playing lights out. I love watching that defense. I think the Vikings could do enough to win that game. And I think they're the 1 seed, and I think the Lions end up being the 5 seed at 14-3, which is nuts. I think we do get a week 1 rematch with the Lions and the Bucks possibly, but I mean with the Lions and the Rams, I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Bucks win it against the Saints at home. I think the Rams lose against the Seahawks because they're resting everybody. I think Washington travels to Tampa Bay first game of the season. Get that rematch. Like I said, I was there. That we are a different team. That first game, that didn't exist to me. This is a whole different team from then. Completely different team. I remember leaving that game. I was like, y'all, this might be a long season. I don't know. But at the same time, with so much roster turnover, that was the first game of the season, guys. We had to make some changes and really just get adjusted to everything. But I want to run this one back. Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore, just playing up against them again. Baker, man, shout out to Baker. You can't deny him. He's a baller. I think Washington, the best case scenario for them is going to Tampa. Warm weather. I would rather see Tampa Bay than the Rams. I would rather see them than having to go to Philly in the first round in January where it's super cold. I'm good on all that. If you want that, I can understand because it's Philly. You want to knock them out. But if you win that first game, there's a chance you can still get the Philadelphia Eagles if the Packers wouldn't knock them out. But if you don't beat Dallas, it doesn't matter. If you lose to Dallas and the Packers win and the Packers have the Bears. So I don't see the Packers resting anyone because they're still fighting for that 6 seed too. Do you think they want to go to Philly? Heck no, they want to go get some warm weather. They live in the cold. They're sick of it. They're ready to go get some warm weather. I don't see the Packers really resting anybody. So Packers, Bears, I obviously give the nod to the Packers. We broke the Bears after that Hail Mary. They have not been the same since. So Packers beat the Bears. Washington has to take care of business. First game, I mean, it's 1 o'clock game. Get it out the way, and then we could see what else happens. But if you lose, you drop to the 7th seed, and then you do have to go to Philly. So there's a lot of things up in the air with this one. But I think likely scenario, Vikings at the 1. You got Packers at Philly in the first round, and Washington Commanders at the Bucks first round, and then Lions at the Rams in the first round. So I think this can move around a good bit by the end of the week. I think it does. And that's what makes this thing so exciting. This has a possibility to completely change minus the Eagles. Everyone else can be in a completely different spot. You can either go from a first round bye to playing away in the first game. Insanity. The NFC is loaded, but as we saw in that 49ers game, I do think the NFC is wide open. I think, like I said, even having the opportunity to make a run right now for Washington, year 1 of a rebuild with a rookie quarterback, you didn't expect this. But it's still a blessing, and there is still an opportunity to strike. I don't fear the Lions with all their injuries right now. I don't fear the Eagles. I don't fear the Rams. I don't fear the Bucks, the Packers, the Vikings. Washington could very well beat any of those teams because you got JD5 at quarterback. Anything is possible. So, what to watch for this weekend? Like I said, it comes down to these games. Let's go back to week 18. We've been living in week 1. Week 18, and in the season right. Don't care about these games. Commanders, Cowboys, Washington. Jameis Winston said, eat the dub. Take care of business. 4.5-point favorites here in Arlington, Texas. I'll be going live right after the game here on Bleach Report to talk about it, win or loss, regardless. So come back for that. But I will be here. Falcons, Panthers. Falcons have to beat the Panthers to have a chance to even make the playoffs. Bears, Packers at the same time. Those early slate games are super, super important. You have Packers, Bears, Packers. Honestly, I don't care if they win or lose. I mean, essentially, you would want them to lose, and you have a chance of keeping that 6th seed if you lose. But I'm not rooting for losing. Winner mentality, beat Dallas. Don't care what anybody else does. Just beat Dallas. But Packers, if they lose, so be it. But if we lose and they win, they jump us. We're the 7th seed. They're the new 6th seed. And then you have Eagles, Giants. Not worried about that. Bucks, Saints. Bucks win that one. They're in. It's over for the Falcons. And then Seahawks, Rams. Big one here. Rams, resting players. Seahawks don't really know what they're going to do. Maybe they start resting guys because in the last game of the season, they're out of the playoffs. Don't really care. Rams, they don't care either. They're starting Jimmy G. They have home field advantage locked up. They won the division. They're in the playoffs. It's over for Seattle. And most important game, ending it here, Vikings at Lions. Winner gets the 1 seed. Loser drops all the way to the 5 seed and has to go on the road in the first round. So, hopefully I explained it well for y'all. If you have any questions, hit me up on social media. Shoot me a DM on Twitter, whatever, at Josh Taylor FB. Like I said, I'll be going live right after the Cowboys game regardless, right here on the Bleach Report app. And guys, we have so much exciting stuff coming up for the season. I will be here every single week, even in the off season, providing y'all with some content with free agency and the draft. And then subscribe to my YouTube channel at Josh Taylor FB, JTFB, where I also upload these videos afterwards in case you missed them. Like I said, you can also always go back to the Bleach Report app and catch those replays. But the team's hot right now. We're winning. This is only the beginning. But take care of business against Dallas. Get to the playoffs and see what you can do with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. Anything's possible. Maybe this is a team of destiny. The Hail Mary, the crazy plays. We should not even be here. But if you're a team of destiny, you might make a little run. Who knows? NFC Championship? I'm not counting anything out, guys. We got our quarterback. I appreciate y'all stopping by, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.